Hey everybody, it's Brian Nemhauser here at Virginia Mason Athletic Center. Seahawks just finished their practice and Mike McDonald just finished his press conference, and a lot of updates to share, partially on the injury report front, and then I'll also give some updates on the press conference that was kind of entertaining as well. So before I do that, if you haven't already, give the show a like and click subscribe. Please do so. I'd appreciate it. Also, give us a follow over on Instagram at HawkBlogger. All right, so the news, the biggest news, Kenneth Walker, George Fant are listed as doubtful. So running back, Kenneth Walker, starter, unlikely to play in this game. And George Fant, also starting right tackle, who is really your backup right tackle, also unlikely to play. I did ask Coach McDonald in the press conference, are we concerned at all about surgery or anything more serious? And he was tight-lipped, and that's just going to be Mike McDonald about injuries, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. But in general, he's just not going to share any more information than he has to, and that's just going to be something that we all have to adjust to. And doesn't mean that the reporters and myself won't continue to ask, but we will not get much more information than we are, by rule, allowed to have. So it is, I think, good news that you've got guys as doubtful. He did mention that Kenneth Walker is feeling good and improving, but is doubtful. So I think that's essentially good news. I think that getting through this game would be big if they can do that without their starter at running back and without their starter at right tackle. Be very big. And next week's game against Miami also is a different game than it was 24 hours ago. So I don't know that they're being cautious with guys, but it does feel like if it's going to happen, now is the time to be cautious, because you don't want to lose Kenneth Walker. Abdominal injuries, core muscle injuries, for running backs in particular, the strain that they do to gain an extra yard, that can easily turn into something more serious. Folks that remember, Marshawn Lynch had things like sports hernia. We've had a lot of core muscle things that can really slow down a running back. So I think the Seahawks are probably being cautious and wise in giving Kenneth another week off. He is listed as doubtful, so there is some chance he will play, but that seems pretty unlikely at this point. On the other parts of the injury news, Uchenna Nwosu, we already knew was out. Pharaoh Brown has also been ruled out. So he practiced on Wednesday, limited, and then was out yesterday and ruled out today. So even though he tried to come back to play his old team, he was not able to do it. We'll see. I don't know what the prognosis is for Pharaoh Brown. There was at some point there was concern that this might be a pretty serious thing with his foot. He showed on his Instagram his arch was pretty bruised up. I don't know any diagnosis or anything going on there, but it is something to keep an eye on, that he tried to go, couldn't go. Don't know what the prognosis is there. Other guys, Tyrel, Dodson, and Jerome Baker, your two starting linebackers, are listed as questionable. They both were full go in practice today. Mike McDonald wouldn't commit to the fact that they're playing, but it seems pretty likely that both will play in this game. If they do not, then you're talking about Tyrese Knight, you're talking about Drake Thomas as guys that would be there as backups at the linebacker spot. We've not really seen Drake Thomas. We have seen Tyrese Knight. Wouldn't be a surprise if we really see kind of his first debut in this game. And then other pieces that I'd call out there, obviously with Kenneth Walker unlikely to play, you're talking about Zack Shaw getting his first start of the year. You spent a second-round pick in back-to-back years on the running back position for this specific type of situation. So Zack Shaw was graded as a starting leveled featured running back by a lot of folks. That's why he went in the second round. That's where you draft a running back, a featured running back, if you want them to be a starter. He is your backup here. He has not gotten a lot of talk, a lot of hype from anybody, including coaches, during training camp or the preseason. There's a big opportunity for Zack Shaw to take a step forward and demonstrate his value to this team. One thing that we know about, and there's a number of things we know about Zack Shaw, but one thing in particular, this guy's a tough running back. He will take every yard there is. And this is a game where, to be very honest, I don't know that improvisational running would do as well against a Patriots defense that is very disciplined, very fundamentally sound. They're not going to get out of their gaps. And that's where Kenneth Walker a lot of times ends up getting some of his additional yards or his explosive plays. This is a game where you're going to have to run downhill. You're going to have to knock people over. And that's Zach Charbonnet's game. So this is a game where he's got to come in and have the right perspective, the right attitude, and be the back that the team needs him to be. And he also is a good receiving back. He is a good blocking back. So they should be able to do everything that they could do with Kenneth Walker. It'll just look different than it did with K9. As far as George Fant being out, that means Stone Forsythe is going to play most likely at right tackle. We did not ask who the backup right tackle would be if George Fant couldn't go. I'm curious about that. I think it might be Mike Tyrel, but I'm not positive on that front. And we assume that Anthony Bradford, Laken Tomlinson remain the starters at guard. It's going to be a big game for the offensive line. See if they can protect, see if they can create some space for the runners. Other pieces in this. So with Pharaoh Brown being out, that means A.J. Barner will continue to get more snaps. He had a pretty solid game run blocking. He caught Daniel Jeremiah's attention, and that's a good start. I mean, he needs to be a physical presence. That's why you drafted him. And so that is generally, a solid start for his career. And we'll see what happens in this game. I asked Mike McDonald in terms of press conference stuff. He was very tight-lipped about injury stuff, so we kind of moved off those questions. But I did ask him, and I knew what his answer was going to be, but I asked it anyway. And I'll probably get some crap from this, fans, whoever. I don't care. I was curious. With Malcolm Butler doing this ceremony at halftime for the Patriots, I know that that's essentially the Patriots picking an opportunity to celebrate a big moment in their franchise history against the Seahawks. It is not likely that they're doing it to kind of antagonize Seattle or dunk on Seattle, but it feels a little bit like that. And so I asked Mike McDonald, I told him Malcolm Butler is going to be doing a ceremony at halftime. Do you connect, even though your team didn't play in that game, does your team connect? Do you connect your team to the history between these franchises and what it means to kind of represent Seattle in this game? And he said, no. I like that. I mean, I like that's part of when I ask some of those questions is because sometimes the obvious, dismissive answer tells you as much about the person as an in-depth answer. And for Mike McDonald, I don't think he's ever going to be the guy that is looking for bulletin board material, that is looking for an emotional edge. When he's talking about edge, he is always talking about tactical, strategic football edge. He is not talking about motivational, emotional when he's thinking about an edge. And so I'd asked a question earlier that helped me understand that about him. This gave me more information. He was like, I didn't even know that Malcolm Butler is doing that. He is locked in on this game. I also asked him what he does on the flight out. Curious if this is the first time he's going to be taking this flight on a game week. Does he do more game planning? He didn't really offer a lot of detail around what he does other than he's not going to sleep. They've talked to a sleep specialist. Not sleeping is important so that they can get a good night's sleep tonight. And, the buses are gassed up, ready to take them to the plane, and they'll get out of here and head out today and, get acclimated and be ready to play for a 10 a.m. game on Sunday. So I think those are really the big items from today. I will be in the air myself tomorrow. I will do a Hawk Blogger morning in the morning, I think. That's the current plan with Jeff Simmons, Seahawks Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. I will figure out what I'll do for Sunday morning when we get there, and I figure out my plans and all that. And then Monday, just a reminder again, I'll be flying back Monday morning, so Hawk Blogger mornings will be a Hawk Blogger afternoon as of now. Robert Mays and I will try for 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time for Pagliacci's Robert Mays Monday. I will get my Pagliacci-sponsored morning after column out on the flight home Monday morning. So keep an eye out for all that stuff. Make sure that you give the show a like and click subscribe. I appreciate all of you. And thanks for tuning in. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. Until next time you see me, take care, folks.